A little bit of fun, picking on me a little bit. So I go to a Rotary, Rockland Rotary. Friend says, come on over. I happen to go to Chris's presentation there and went, wow, this is a fit, I think, to what we're doing because of our Workforce Development Committee. I said, oh, well, let's do that. Well, a couple of meetings later, I hear this Rotarian theme about we don't get involved in politics. I went, what? Wait a minute, what are they talking about? They don't get involved. Well, I started reading this Bill of Obligations by Richard Haas, The 10 Habits of Good Citizens. And I'm reading this and reading this and reading this, and then comes Rotary for, Mike, you're going to do the presentation. Oh, gee whiz, I better get ready for that. And then I said, no, I'm going to read some more obligations. I'm going to try and figure this thing out with this Rotary crowd and this problem that I'm having with politics and Rotary versus my obligations as a citizen. And I go down to Rockport Harbor yesterday with my book, I'll Do Rotary Later. And I open up my book to where I'm at, and I pick up the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs pamphlet that Chris is going to give you today. And I looked up, I said, okay, forgive me, I'm going to concentrate on my chore for this Rotary meeting. So, just, I don't know. Interesting show, this fourth quarter of life. Anyways, Chris was kind enough to send me a bio, and I'm going to write off this. Some call him the connector, but really, Chris Austin is just a serial networker with a mission: bring good people and good businesses together. Chris is a small business owner and the face behind Ardea, a Knox County-based company focused on simplifying payroll and payment solutions for Maine's hardworking entrepreneurs. A Rockland Rotarian, thank you, and president of Rock Coast Entrepreneurs, Chris is all about building community through collaboration. He also hosts the Entrepreneurs Hour radio show on WRFR 93.3 FM, where he chats with local business leaders, dreamers, and doers, all with the goal of sharing real stories and helpful insight. Excuse me. Chris, how do you do all this? Chris is a founding member of the Penn Bay Community Collaboration, helping bring people and resources together for the good of the Mid-Coast business community. Off the mic and outside the boardroom, Chris and his wife Lindsay live in Spruce Head with their 4 amazing kids. He's a family man first, and everything he does in business and beyond comes back to faith, community, and building something worth passing down. I like that, betterment. That's what we do, particularly now where we're at. And I thank you for accepting the invite, and it would be interesting. I'm sure they'll be interested in what you're going to say. So please come on up and welcome. Yeah, there's your bookmark.
Awesome, love it. Thank you. Yeah, I'm a mover, so I'm going to get myself in. I'm going to talk pretty loudly, so I think everybody should be able to hear me okay. But yeah, I'm really excited to just share our story. Just show of hands, the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs is a newer brand, but it used to be the Rock Coast Networkers. Do we have any former members of the Rock Coast Networkers in here by chance? Okay. All right. I'll move on. All right, so the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs, originally it was founded over 20 years ago, built on a BNI. So BNI is Business Network Institute. Folks that have been in business, especially in larger metropolitan areas, BNI is like one of every kind. You go in and you network, and if you don't share referrals, they're going to boot you. But it's very expensive, and because Mainers are typically a little bit cheaper, they decided to build their own. And it was a great group. Rock Coast so started the first decade and a half with weekly meetings. I was actually at the trade-ins all the way up to the top, and there was no pressure of getting a timeshare either when you're there. But it was a great thing. We had weekly presentations. Educational moments were shared, elevator speeches, and referrals, and it operated under the giver's gain. Does anyone know what the giver's gain is? It's basically, it's in the world of networking, and that's going to be the dirty word that I talk a little bit about today. In networking, if you go into networking just thinking that I'm going to go into a group or an organization just to get business, you're going to be disappointed in yourself and others, and are going to be disappointed with you. The giver's gain mentality is that you network to learn about other people. You learn about them as individuals first. You build a personal connection, a friendship, and a mutual beneficial relationship where you just want to be able to not only help the person that you're meeting, but the customers that you serve in your own business. So going out and finding an opportunity, so if you ask that question, what keeps you up at night, like I do with all my customers, next thing you find out is what keeps them up is probably something you can't do. But if you're very well networked, you're going to be able to find someone to be able to help them. And I'll tell you, if you help others and you send them and you give that referral to someone, that giver's mentality is that eventually karma's going to come around and you'll get something back down the road. But it's not a guarantee, and that's not the purpose. It's about helping others and just let fate have fate. Changes in the business landscape. So the trade businesses, as you know, over the last, I would say even the last decade, anyone that's called a plumber, good luck getting a call back if they're slammed, right? And if they could help you tomorrow, buyer beware. But that's with all the trades, right? And so business is good. And sometimes they just say, well, I don't have enough time to go to the networking groups. But they were about 75% of your networking groups that are out there were tradespeople. And next thing you know, low attendance, not really a good thing, and it's not good. So, you know, it was thriving in the 2010s. Everything was going great. In the teens, everything was good. But then in 2020, we all know what happened. And forced remote meetings. And next thing you know, especially if you're, you know, somebody that's older, you may not like technology. And it's, let's be honest, everybody's, especially if you were in Zoom world during COVID, that's the last thing you want to be is on another Zoom meeting. And you're not engaged. You can't read each other's body languages. And you can't personally connect with people with side conversations or anything of that nature. And so that was the early death sentence for the Rock Coast networkers. But I would just say over the last couple of years of just continuing to pay, you know, just try to save it, we made a really hard decision of, do we close it up? Because if you look at the BNI or other networking organizations across the world, they're all failing because of that personal connection. People feel like they don't need to have personal connections. Why would I need that? And they just kind of lost that a little bit. But also, too, some of your organizations like Chamber of Commerce, we're going to talk about that a little bit today, sometimes they close up. And now you lose another opportunity to be able to network. And I don't think people realize how important it is. But we said, you know what? We have a lot of great knowledge. We have some talented people. We are in a state of entrepreneurs. 250,000 people are employed by small businesses in the state of Maine. There's over 150,000 small businesses in our state. So we all need to be able to have support. And I'll tell you right now, it happens every single day. Everybody wakes up and they become an entrepreneur. It starts sometimes at a really early age. Who had a lemonade stand when they were a little kid? All right, yeah, you're an entrepreneur. And for some people, that little burning desire just stuck with you, and you just want to become a serial entrepreneur. Okay, and next thing you know, you're doing a lot. So what we decided to say, you know what, we're going to go ahead and we're going to really focus on being more educational. I'll go more about what we do here shortly. So we made some updates to our bylaws. We decided to go from weekly to bi-monthly, so the first and third Thursday, and focus on education. And again, I'm going to go more into that here shortly. Last year, we found our way, and we rebranded, and we relaunched the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs. As you can see over here in our nice little, it's a little small for you guys to see, so sorry about that. All right, so basically what our new goals is to be a hub for entrepreneurship and collaboration. facilitate initiatives like Top Gun Knox County 2026. I'm actually a mentor for Maine Center of Entrepreneurs. And Knox County actually has a huge success stories that have been Top Gun. So Top Gun is, like, think of it like a pitch competition, but it's a rigorous 12-week program where you have a mentor, you meet on a weekly basis, and you learn elevator speeches, you learn about how to read your financials, and it's basically improving your pitch and improving your business model. Maybe it's that you're scaling and you just don't know how to be able to do that. And what they do is they have a pitch competition and they give you $25,000 towards your business. That's a lot of money. But the whole purpose of it is not for the money, it's more for the experience and to be improved. So a couple of winners recently in the last 10 years is Loyal Biscuit, was Top Gun winner about 7 years ago, and 3 years ago, Bixby Chocolate was the winner. Okay, so pretty good. So, but the problem is that we haven't had a local cohort, and so we've decided to be a cohort for that program, and we'll be launching that next year, which we're very excited. So that means that local entrepreneurs will be able to participate. Right now, those folks have been driving to Bangor, Augusta, Portland, Brunswick. They've been driving elsewhere. We're actually going to have it here, and we're going to be working with the University of Maine, Augusta at Rockland, also known as URock, for that. You know, we partner with area chamber of commerces, not just here, but in others as well. Rockland Main Street, University of Maine, Augusta has been a very, very invested partner with us. Chip Curry, I don't know if Chip has ever spoken here, but he's actually part of the Maine legislators as well. He's in the Senate, and that is his world. Economic or business development or economic development is some of the biggest things that he wants. So the UMA is like, yeah, we're all in on that. And then MCST, we're actually going to be building programming with them. So Midcoast School of Technology are actually, they're going to be expanding and focusing on adult ed, and there's going to be a local entrepreneur training platform, and we're going to be part of that education as well. And also, we love local schools. So I'm a guest speaker to schools, and what we're finding is that they love to do little modules where they actually teach the students to create a business. And I go in and I help them with their pitch. And it's so rewarding, and they got some great ideas. And we've actually had kids actually spun that idea into their side hustle during the summer, and 2 of those kids actually graduated and now have a lawn mowing business together, which is really cool. Our mission at the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs is the resources, you know, again, we're talking about being a resource, provide networking opportunities, wisdom of experienced veteran members, community support and collaboration. You're going to see more about how we're doing that. I've already talked a little bit about that, but yeah, we meet the first and third Thursday of every month at URock, which is the Breakwater building in Rockland, up on the 4th floor, and the meetings start at 8 a.m. And I'm long-winded sometimes, but more importantly, the content is so powerful that we're going deeper and deeper into that 9 o'clock hour, and people love it. So we stopped really promoting that it's 8 to 9. We just say it starts at 8. All right, so I'm going to use some dirty language here for some of you. You know, this is, and this is actually something that I learned when I was a Rotarian down in Booth Bay, is that networking is a dirty word. Because in some clubs, some Rotarians, they kind of forget about where we all started as Rotarians. Started at a dinner table, held each other accountable to provide business, and then they took those profitability, that profit, and they put it to good use. That's where the project work started. But just in general, the next generation of entrepreneurs, they're scared to be an entrepreneur, all right? They're really scared to talk to other entrepreneurs, so they become siloed, and that is kind of one of the driving forces of my radio show that I'll talk a little bit about here shortly. So the word networking has developed a bad word, or a bad reputation, awkward, you know, mixers, transactional vibes. You know, they're like, ooh, if I talk about business, that means that I have to sell something. But it's still essential. And just raise of hands, who's owned or currently owns or have owned a small business? Okay, You know how important it is to network. If you don't, you're alone. And we've all been there. It's a tough time sometimes. It could be the early season of entrepreneurship. It could be the middle where you become somewhat stagnant, or it could be when you have to pass it on. And what we're finding is a lot of generations don't want the headache. But it's still essential, and we were trying to bring it back, and so we've rebranded the serial networkers like myself across this wonderful universe, and we've changed it to collaboration. But guess what? Collaboration is still networking. It just sounds better, right? So, like I said, Rotary, its origin story was rooted in the intentional networking and referrals. It was measured, it was tracked, there was a book, everybody knows about that. It was celebrated as a path to business success. That success led to service, and networking turned into giving back. The void that was left behind, so I'm going to just dive in of why it's so important for us to bring back networking to our area is because a lot of us had been networking all along and they just didn't really call it networking. That would maybe going to the local Chamber of Commerce's, going to a business breakfast when your favorite politician was speaking. I used those two things together, favorite politician. But we went but we also love going to business after hours. But unfortunately, COVID, just like BNI and other networking groups, but also small business organizations, chambers specifically, just the model had to change quickly. And a lot of chambers just didn't do so. And I was on the board for the Penn Bay Chamber when we had to make that terrible decision to close. Okay, I was the vice chair. I'm just telling you right now, we did everything we could to save that chamber. But it's something that is a trend across this country. 30% of chambers across the US have merged or closed since 2010. We saw this a long time ago. If anyone that's been in this area, you had the Camden Chamber of Commerce, and then you had the Rockland Chamber of Commerce, and then you had the Lincolnville Chamber of Commerce, and then you had all these other ones, all between, right? I don't know, did Rockport have a Chamber of Commerce? Okay. And next thing you know, they merge. But our chamber was special. They said, well, we're just going to merge all the ideas into one, and we're going to take all the staff too. And so we're going to just keep a big nugget of expenses, and we're going to blaze forward. And that's happened a lot in other areas as well. Even in our state last year, several of our top, in the top 5, several of them, some of them for the 3rd year in a row, finished their year 6 figures in the negative, in the red. Okay? But I would just say is that I got confronted by a local chamber because they misunderstood a concept that I had was our community did not, we just simply as a community didn't think that the chamber was important enough to save. Okay? It wasn't relevant. But I think we're going to find very quickly that a Chamber of Commerce is very important to a community. It just needs to adapt. It needs to be a different model. And I would just say is that, it's a pillar of our community that we're going to lose. But I'm just grateful to just share with you today in this presentation that we have several organizations stepping up. And we want to make things happen until a chamber does come back. And there will be a chamber because it's very, very important for it. It's just probably going to be different. So just, I talk about, the networking. It's not about the wine and cheese, the free stuff, okay? It's all about the intentional connection. We lose that space where business people go to share ideas, referrals, and opportunities. These are things that we're missing without a Chamber of Commerce or some of your business groups if you're not participating. Strong networks lead to strong local economies. It's an absolute true fact. If you're well-connected, and you are at that giver's gain, and you're helping one another, and you're growing with one another, you're thriving with one another, that money goes back, larger donations to your nonprofits, larger things that are happening. You know, and I would just say is that we realize how important it is to be able to do these things. So myself included, with the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs, the Camden Area Business Group, Rockland Main Street, we're really starting to step up. We're coming up with ideas and concepts to bring back those key things that were very important to our area, and I'm just really excited about those things. We are really building a community-driven and sustainable platform. I have businesses all over the country, one of which was in Topeka. One of my business partners was in Topeka, Kansas. Anyone been to Topeka, Kansas? It's a flyover city. Nobody goes to there except if they want to learn about the Brown versus Education, okay, or they're going to go watch a basketball game because there's all kinds of basketball around that area. But it's a flyover city, and they're very, very similar to our area. And about 10 years ago, they founded the Topeka Partnership. Topeka didn't have a Chamber of Commerce, and the surrounding towns didn't have a Chamber of Commerce. And next thing you know, they formed this organization that was 501c3, and it became the parent organization. And that budget that year was $250,000. Since that time, they formed, I want to say, 15 different organizations. Chambers of Commerce fly under it. Economic development goes underneath it. And what they do is they budget together. They put all the money and they create a strategy and they divide and they conquer, versus a competition model that we've all seen in this area. Okay? And that first year's budget was $250,000. Last year, $10 million is what they brought in. Their surplus is around $20 million, and they reinvest that money for a innovation complex that was there. But they were doing initiatives like, if you move to Topeka, we're going to pay you $15,000 per family member in your house. Okay, I'll be honest with you, that's not a crazy idea for the state of Maine. We need some young families in this area. We need a young workforce. Let's pay them because it's probably going to pay us. Now, yeah, so where's the money going to come from? Yeah, good question. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about how we're stepping up to fill those voids. So I have my show, the Entrepreneurs Hour, and it's funny is that I went to Connect Over Coffee in Rockland. I talked to someone who I typically would have never spoken to. 5 minutes later, next thing you know, I committed myself to doing a radio show. I've never been on radio in my life. They gave me a 10-minute, this is how you operate it, good luck. And I had my first show. So I've now had 32 shows, but I'm really excited that faith is very important to me. And I felt a calling that there needs to be maybe two sides of entrepreneurship that we want to talk about. And so I created a faith-based entrepreneur show, which is the last show of the month. But that is so popular that I'm going to split that up, and I'm going to have two shows a week. One's going to be entrepreneurs, and the other one will be a faith-based talk about the voyage, because I'll tell you, there's some darkness that's out there, and people just don't know where to go, especially as entrepreneurs. And sometimes they lead themselves to other bad paths, and it's just a nice, inspirational conversation that we have. We're collaborating with other business groups. We're going to be a facilitator for several different things. Led the formation of so that, this is something that's very important to me. So we created I created the concept of the Penn Bay Community Collaboration based off of that model of the Topeka Partnership. And this was something that was already in the plans. I was working with local leaders about doing this, but there was like a 5-year plan that just simply had to step up quickly. And so we created a work group called the Penn Bay Community Collaboration. And that's made up of the leaders of Rockland Main Street, Camden Area Business Group, and then myself. And it's one of the things that, and I'm going to go more into that here in a second, but facilitators of education, that's another primary role that we want to continue to do as a chamber. So you're going to see the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs as part of this Penn Bay Community Collaboration. We're going to bring back some of the business breakfast and have topics, and we're going to have leaders. They'll come in and share inspirational things. So we're going to be doing those things here shortly. So let's just dive into the Penn Bay Community Collaboration. Again, it's the RCE, Rockland, that's the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs, Rockland Main Street, Camden Area Business Group. In first mission that we met in January, and we're like, what's the biggest void that we have? the expo. The Penn Bay Expo was huge, and it was my favorite event. And if you were to ask the folks that are, that are around here, it's one of their favorite things. It's the one place where you can have all of the entrepreneurs in the area, small businesses, large businesses, people that you may need services from, but more importantly, is a showcase for our community to be able to see everything on display. So in just a matter of a couple of months, we were able to pull it off. And we created, the Penn Bay Showcase. And it's something that literally two of us, Eric Anderson and myself, pretty much did 90% of it. And then the facilitation of it took a lot, and so we brought in the reserves to help us be able to do that. But that used to be done by the chamber with dozens of people, plus an entire board, and plus somebody being paid to go out and get sponsorships. We didn't do any of those things. We didn't ask for any sponsorships. We kept the prices at a very economical way, and we netted $10,000 as an organization. But the thing is, we're not an organization, so we got to divide the money up. And so that was the whole purpose, is that 100% of the proceeds needs to go back into our business environment. And so we split that money up, and then we put some money towards next year's expo. So we're doing it again. It was huge. It was a great success. Cabbage received $2,500. Rockland Main Street received $2,500, and the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs. And Camden Area Business Group is going to be putting it towards promotion of this area for its members. Rockland Main Street is going to be doing the same thing for Rockland Main Street. They're going to be doing things like the Port Promise, which the chamber used to do. They're going to be doing other things, and we're going to be putting that money at Rock Coast Entrepreneurs. We're going to put that towards small business education and scholarships to businesses who would like to join, who maybe not have the money to be able to do so. So what's next? Next thing is that starting next month, in the month of August, we're bringing back Business After Hours, which we're very excited about. So we're going to be going back to the second Wednesday of the month, and it's at no cost. So what we're doing is we're reaching out to everyone who had scheduled the Business After Hours, who paid for Business After Hours to the chamber and never got a refund. So we reached out to them and said, hey, we want you to host. But guess what? There's no rules. You don't have to have booze. You don't have to have catering. We just want you to facilitate, share your story, and provide a space for people to be able to network. And so we're going to be at Bartlett Woods next month and be able to do that. So if you hosted, if you know someone who's hosted before and like to do that, we would love to be able to do that this year. And so it'll be no cost. But next year, what we're going to do is we're going to ask them to do a donation, to the organization that they feel would be best beneficial in their community. So if they want to donate it to Rockland Main Street, then it'll be a dollar-for-dollar donation. So we're bringing back, like I said, opportunities to be able to do the business breakfast. But the whole purpose of this is so that we can go back to focusing on growth, collaboration, and showing up. Just to reiterate how important it is, I know I'm bouncing back and forth, but I'm just trying to reinforce how important networking is. Have I mentioned the word networking? And here's some statistics that good old ChatGPT provided. So it's got to be true, right? No, it is true. 85% of jobs are filled through networking. 70% of small businesses rely on referrals and word of mouth. Because if you're investing in all Google, good luck. How are you going to be able to measure that success? But boy, if you have somebody that comes up and a customer of yours and they're like, thank you so much. They helped me. They helped me. And I was able to accomplish X, Y, and Z. It gives you a sense of pride that you helped your customer, but you did something good. And believe me, that small business, they're going to know that that referral came from you because your customer's going to tell them about it. Active networkers are 42% more likely to be promoted. That's for people who work for small businesses or just in general for corporations. Listen, I was a banker. Yes, I'm a recovering banker. For over 20 years, I was in the banking world. And I'll tell you, I was old school banker, like where you were part of your town. Become the mayor if you have to, and be out there and focus on your community. Be part of it. Just be ready to be there to serve your community. And the fruits of your labor will come in naturally. Again, givers gain. And it's so important for people to be able to do that. In small towns, that's one conversation could change your whole trajectory. I mean, we're seeing it. I mean, honestly, I spoke to someone a couple of years ago when they were visiting. I was actually installing a point of sale for a client, and they were like, "Oh, wow, so customers don't have to set it up here locally?" I was like, "No, we have a great small business community. If you need an electrician, we probably can find someone for you. And we're just very connected. Everyone knows everyone, so you better do a good job or it's going to bite you in the butt." And that person actually moved their business to this area. And I didn't know that until they came to Rock Coast Entrepreneurs about a month ago, and they were like, "I don't think you remember me, but I saw you in Washington, Maine at this little restaurant." And he says, "I had to." And it was because, we vacationed here already, but I was a small business, but I was in a big area, and I was just a lamb amongst wolves, and I just needed to go somewhere where I mattered again. And it was really cool to be able to see that full circle. And I mean, that's just a really cool experience. So going back to us, just a plug about the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs. I would love for you to be a guest. Not only, you can come to one of our meetings the first and third Thursdays. If you're someone that maybe you're retired and you have a lot of experience and you want to mentor, you have a free membership. We want you to come to the meetings and share your knowledge and be part of the, that toolkit that we're going to give to our fellow members. But also too, I want you to be a guest. If you've been an entrepreneur or if you're currently an entrepreneur and you want to share your story, I would love for you to be on my radio show. And guess what? It's an hour. And you're like, "I don't think I could talk." Believe me, I can ask you enough questions and you'll never realize, it's hilarious, is that I don't think I could talk more than an hour. I was like, "Believe me, we could go 2 hours. I'll keep you talking, don't you worry." And every single time they were like, "That just happened?" And I was like, "Yeah, that was an hour." And it's just but it's a blast. But we get to hear the good, the bad, the ugly. And that's so important for people to be able to learn. But also we share resources. We share, inspirational that you're not alone. You're going to be taken care of. So I'd love for you to be a guest of mine on the show. Again, we just continue to, just be on the lookout for us. We're going to be promoting the business breakfast. The collaboration is going to get larger. We hope that other organizations, I know the St. George Business Alliance, they're no longer doing their expo. They want to merge it with ours, which they did this year. They want to start co-hosting their networking with us as well. Camden Area Business Group is a huge partner of ours because we can no longer be siloed. We can't be one community versus another community. We can't be Rockland Rotary versus Camden Rotary. Okay, we can't. We're all in it for the same reasons. We're all in it to win it, and we all want a beautiful community. We want to celebrate the successes together, but we want to build better friendships, relationships of a lifetime. And this is a great opportunity to be able to do that, so we're bringing it back. Any questions? Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you for your presentation. It sounds very interesting.
Thank you.
Could you repeat the station and the time that you're on radio?
Yes, sir. It's WRFR.org. But if you're non-Rockland, good luck listening to it. It's the antenna is on top of. The antenna is actually below the rooftop of the house that's adjacent to the studio. But you can listen live on WRFR.org. There's a live streaming link. But also, too, if you miss it, the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs Facebook page, I post links to the show. You can also watch it Facebook Live during. It's 7 to 8 a.m. every Tuesday morning, except for the month of July. I'm not going to be around doing that this month. I'm taking the month off. But also, too, it's on YouTube. I create a YouTube channel. And so you'll be able to see all of the discussions. You'll see the faith-based entrepreneur show on there as well as the regular ones, too. And it's 93.3 FM if you're in Rockland.
At your previous presentation in Rockland got me fired up some more about what is it in Maine that we're doing really well at, and what is it that we need to improve upon. And it's interesting, and maybe this is just a by luck connection. You mentioned a $15,000 gap as a bonus to bring people in. And what I saw a while ago was national average is 70 grand a year for two people in the nation for their income, annual income. And Maine supposedly was 55,000. I said, so there's a $15,000 gap. So do you have any, what do you see as what's working, but more importantly, what maybe not working and what we might be able to do to make things better?
Yeah, I would say that number one thing that we have to be able to do is that if you are a young family and you want to move to this beautiful state for better education, safety for your children, better water, better air, homes, good luck trying to find a home that's affordable. So affordable homes is the number one key for doing that. And I know that we had a nice little conversation. Rockland is doing some really cool things to be able to do that. But the money's got to come from somewhere, the subsidies. And, and so it's a really tough situation that we have right now because people who are moving here are not, it's the next journey in their life. You said the fourth quarter. Who said the fourth quarter? You said the fourth quarter. Thanks, Mike. I love that because people are moving here in the fourth quarter of their life. They're not here to build a business. They're not here to work. So we have to be able to provide something to be able to invite people, if it's tax benefits for small businesses or what have you. But we saw that, in the 90s with MBNA, and that as soon as those tax benefits are gone, they're out. So we're going to have to continue to do that. I think the state Chamber of Commerce, Hospitality Maine, Maine Tourism Association of Maine, these organizations, they're the key. There's also Live Work in Maine. That's a fantastic organization that's going out to communities. So not only are we going out and promoting our area for a place to visit, we need to promote of why you need to move your family here. And I think that's where we need to do that. And I think that these groups are doing that. I just think that if you talk to David Grima, when he's positive, I mean, he's actually part of the RCE. I could do that. I love the guy. But David would tell you that it's probably 10 years out because people are starting to have babies again. I mean, it is. It's true. I mean, people are starting to settle down again. People during COVID, they probably didn't have a lot of time on hand. So, in 10 years, we're going to start seeing a younger workforce. But also, we're already starting to see a younger workforce. I also created a page for the Penn Bay Teen Job Board because businesses don't know how to get the word out that they can hire a teen. And teens are so just afraid to go talk to a small business to ask for a job. And parents are helicopter parents in today's society, and they are trying to shield their kid. But it's so expensive to be a family in Maine that they're telling the kids, sorry, if you want those things, you got to go to work. That's what I do with my teens. If you want something, you're buying it. Could we provide for it? Absolutely. But guess what? You're never going to respect it unless you earn it yourself. And I think that we're probably 10 to 12 years. But how do we do that? I'm telling you right now, I'm probably going to be lobbying a lot in 2026 with Augusta of promoting our regions of a place to do business. And if you do that, because the numbers are staggering on how many small businesses we have in this small state, and if we have more, it's more money, it's more opportunity for people to invest in real estate, to build affordable homes. It's an ecosystem that starts from the top down sometimes. You got to be able to bring industry to our state, so our areas have to be open to big business because that brings in people, okay? And next thing you know, you have those people that have spouses that need to work, and because we don't have a workforce, okay? We don't have a workforce at all, and it's not getting any better. It's about 10 years, like David Grima says, about 10 years out, so we're going to have to promote to get people here, and we're just going to have to be a little bit more open-minded. That's all. I know it's a long-winded answer, but absolutely, would love that. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Chris, just a second. You are the recipient of this. You will be donating this to the Camden Public Library in your honor for their children's collection. So, Thanks so much. And could we have some raffle assistance?
This on? Yes. I'll pick on this guy. Pick a winner.
How about 230?
Son of a gun, it is. All right, all right.
We split the winnings.
Okay, the winnings today are sadly only $22.50.
This will be the time I do.
Six of clubs. That's your card to keep. Enjoy.
Okay, now your sergeant at arms. Grandpa. Hey now.